quick take on Obama's speech tonight. I actually watched it, so I don't need the analysts to interpret this speech for me. You know, I can pretty much think of my own volition. There really wasn't anything new in this speech, neither for Republicans nor for progressives. It's, again, kind of a wishy-washy effort to somehow redefine this public option. One of the things that he mentioned was that he is not going to sign a bill which will increase the deficit. He just won't do it. That's great. My question would be, then why is he continuing to fund the wars, which we're engulfed in, which also increase the deficits? So evidently, this bill is not worth increasing the deficits, but somehow our military spending is. So actually, this speech was more important in terms of what it left out than what was actually mentioned. The proposals on the table right now are not enough in terms of this insurance exchange to get any big competition going on against big insurance companies, because the public option itself, it was only mentioned once during the speech, by the way, is in itself not a taxpayer-funded option, but it is offered by big insurance. And so those people, as Obama said, who don't have insurance, will be essentially pushed into a plan, into a private insurance plan, which he says is an option. So if you don't have insurance, then you are going to be insured no matter what, with some subsidies, but you're going to be pushed not into a public insurance plan, you're going to be pushed into a private insurance plan. And you should look up the plan that is working, or rather not working, in the state of Massachusetts right now, because that's exactly the model he's talking about. So supposedly, the private insurance companies are going to become more competitive with each other because more people are going to be pushed into their plans. Well, the whole model is broken to start with. So it's disingenuous to say that there is any kind of publicly funded option on the table at this point. The only publicly funded option is Medicare and Medicaid, and he did, in a roundabout way, say that some things were going to be cut. Now, of course, it was like his campaign speeches, you see, and he's reaching across the aisle, although the people across the aisle aren't reaching out towards him. They wanted to kill any kind of universal health care to start with. And his administration made the big mistake of dropping the single payer option to start with, which is probably the most stupid negotiating position I've ever heard of. You know, you don't start negotiating from the middle, you start negotiating for what you want. So regardless of Obama's rhetoric, and you absolutely have to admit he is a brilliant speaker. His rhetoric is almost flawless, and he will convince, once again, a lot of progressives that he is going to consider their viewpoints, when in reality he's already negotiated away a deal with big pharma to where drug prices cannot be negotiated. So the whole thing lies in the fine print. And, you know, I applaud him for going against some of these crazy notions on here that he mentioned, you know, regarding killing your grandma and all that, and socialized medicine. It's not even close to this, okay? But it's too little and too late. If he genuinely wants reform, it's too late. And what's on the table today, as I say, I will post a link to Mark Tarby's article. And this is basically the crux of that whole issue. If you want to understand what is being put out there on the table today, you should very definitely read that article. And yes, it's going to take you 40 minutes to read it. So if you care about what's happening in this country, then you should goddamn well read it. Otherwise, you know, it's just going to be listening to another speech. And, you know, I can't say for sure that Obama doesn't have good intentions. He probably does. But he's playing it middle of the road once again. And it's not enough. It's not enough. It will not bring the savings he is proposing. And on top of it, it won't even become effective until after 2013, after the next presidential election. So to judge how any of this program that he's proposing right now, or that he's in favor of, which is so vague, you know, it's just vague, okay, to where nobody would even be able to tell until after the next presidential election what is really going on. So that's one problem right there. And, you know, I'm not sure if these commentators on here on TV are mentioning this. That's just clear thinking. I mean, you have to keep this in mind when you listen to speeches. Now, I did like the ending of the speech, you know, this appeal to, you know, helping out others when they can't help themselves and so on. But, you know, every president says this. Every president, you know. It brings tears to people's eyes and oh, yes, we're all for this. And this is nothing we haven't heard before from any president, by the way. So no, it was, in my opinion, not a convincing speech, at least not to me. And be on the lookout for the actual fine print of what comes out and out of this whole mess. It could possibly, with Baucus's bill on the table, you know, the six people on the Finance Committee, Senate Finance Committee, essentially pushing for this bill, all of these people have huge campaign contributions from the financial and the healthcare industry. I just don't see things getting better anytime soon. I'm sorry to say that, but and the worst thing about it is that he mentioned in his speech that this is going to be it, and the debate is going to be solved now, and that's going to be it that's going to be the defining moment. I don't think it's the defining moment at all. I'm sorry to let everybody down, but it's just business as usual the way I see it. Good night.